Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome back to the Worldwide People's Championships. Haven't said that in a while. It's been an absolute age since I've done one of these. I've tried to keep my head above water with the tons of replays that you're all shoveling in my face. It's been all I could do to breathe. But I'm kind of exaggerating, to be honest. I just haven't got my arse in gear. Otherwise, I could have had quite a few of these done. But TA for Life got in contact with me yesterday and said this one is one that you must cast, and he's such a big, scary fellow. He's someone you don't want to disappoint, so I'm not going to, and here it is. It is the over 2000 bracket. That's right, it is the big boys. It is the grand final of week 24 between the challenger, Luzon, and the reigning champion, Crazed. The gloves are off, the giant mechanical booties are on, and if I listen very carefully, I think I can hear them clanking away as they emerge through their portals on planet side. So let's head on over to the game zone for game one. It's going to be Roza's Sanctuary. Let's see how they're going to get on. Roza Sanctuary, hate this map, but love watching people play on this map because I'm not playing, I'm watching, and that's all good. Up here at the top left, in the yellow corner, it's the reigning champ. It's Crazed, and he's going UEF, opening first land, all very standard. Take a look at what he's got queued up. Not even a P-Jet queued up. Interesting, he's going to leave it to the last minute to keep us guessing. We're not going to see any kind of secondary factory go down. Nope. And you, mate. Right, down here at the teal corner, we have Luzon and his customary teal going UEF as well. Switching out, he's used to go FIM, and now we saw him play Cybrin for a bit. Now he's going UEF. Incidentally, I didn't mention, of course, that this is NG mod. Most of the Worldwide People's Championship games seem to be going that way, as it's going to be implemented in at some point. There's a nice little bit of T1 power plant art going on. I like what he's doing there. But yeah, so lots of people as well feeling like UEF are considerably stronger with the changes. Of course, Percival's that much more useful when all your factories are upgraded to T3, so that might be why we're seeing these two guys going what is currently or generally thought of as the newbie race. I take great offense to that because it is my race, because I'm a newbie. But that is the way it goes. Anyway, talking about tournaments, incidentally, guys, I was saying to a few people the other day, why don't we have enough tournaments anymore? Thank goodness there's the Worldwide People's Championship, because it's the only tournament anyone seems to really be doing these days. There may be a big one brewing on the horizon. Brain Bunch are cooking something up. It isn't finalized yet, but I've had a few chats with some of the key people, and if it goes ahead, I'm very excited. Let's just leave it at that. There's lots of juicy stuff potentially on the horizon, so stay tuned for more information about that. Anyway, we're seeing the first few units come across the map now. A couple of mech marines and a snoop for Crazed, bypassing all of this neutral stuff in the middle, although of course first glance there doesn't seem to be any turrets, hostile or say neutral turrets, that will take offense to you marching by. Certainly can't see it. How pretty. I've never actually noticed that before. What is that in there? It's a small thing, a small metal thing inside a big or bigger glass thing. Anyway, back to the game. The first few mech marines are encroaching on Luzon's space. He's got a snoop up here at the front that's going to detect that as it comes in. A little bit of micro to try and keep it alive. Doesn't manage it though. But there is a striker who's going to follow up and score a kill on that mech marine. Another striker at this side potentially is going to be in place to stop this mech marine from getting into the main base of Luzon and scoring any engineer kills. Bomber out as well for Loki on his way up about the map. Current trajectory, of course, going to go around the side looking for any early engineers out, expanding to the right. I think he's going to find any though. Nothing has moved out that way that fast. There's an engineer down here that's moved quite quickly, quite far south. And where's he going to? He's moving down here, so his whole plan at the moment is a mass grab. So I'm going to go for any early expansion or anything like that. First bomber out though from Loki, heading over the top of Crazed's main base. Bombs away. What's he spotted? He spotted one engineer right in front of that land factory, but that's all he's going to score as an interceptor from Crazed. Spots him in time and picks him off. We have got a transport here, T1, loaded with engineers. Seems to be at least 3 on there. Doesn't seem to know exactly where he's going. He is going to be airdropping down into the bottom. It looked like he was deciding to go up top, but then he changed his mind. And there is an interceptor, though, that has spotted that transport and is going to try and focus him. I don't know if he's going to have any luck, though. Two defending interceptors will finish him off before he can score that kill. Another interceptor from Luzon on his way to the left-hand side of the map, closing in on that position. Crazed could do a lot worse than to assign those fighters to protect it once again. In they come now. It's going to drop off right by this crater. One pass from that interceptor isn't going to be enough. Those three engineers will make landfall. Probably going to be able to shoot that transport down, especially with a reinforcing interceptor. But Luzon well aware that those three engineers have made landfall and that Crazed will be making a play for that bottom left starting location. And that is why Loki is flowing his troops in that direction. A whole bunch of strikers on and a move command, a waypoint to this main section, the starting locale. But the main base is not going to be gone for immediately by Crazed. He's going to place a land factory in this crater up here and expand outwards from it. But I think he's going to have a little bit of an issue trying to expand and grab this, especially since there's a bomber in the area as well. Luzon's going to be able to make one pass with that bomber and potentially take out all three of those engineers unless they're spread out. One of them is on the move now, two of them still clumped. Luzon in a perfect position, bombs away, two engineers down. That's a large proportion of the build power that got dropped off in that bottom left corner, now in the skip. And now with these reinforcing troops in the area, that is a win, I'm more than certain, for Luzon. Meanwhile, Crazed has pushed out to the top right. Luzon has also tried to secure the top right with a very similar drop. However, many more engineers on the ground this time for Luzon than we saw with Crazed in the bottom left. He's gone immediately for a plasma cannon, half built a factory first, changed his mind when he realized there were troops in the area, but that is going to afford him some really good protection as these hostile troops, these hostile strikers from Crazed come in to try and deal with that. Going to spam up a radar station to give him full coverage, allow that plasma turret its full range. That looks like it could potentially be a nice little beachhead that Luzon has established there. That factory isn't building anything. Crazed definitely going to consign that to the scrap heap. Not going to try and defend that, not initially anyway. He's going to punch his way in through the front door. He's got a few strikers of his own. But bombs coming down right across the front line of those horses. One of those tanks drop, and far too many incoming troops as well from Luzon on the ground, meaning that this is going to be secured, and at the top right as well looks like it could be secured. So all in all, things in the first 8 minutes of this game going spectacularly badly for Crazed, and it's not that he's doing anything wrong, it's just that Luzon is doing everything right in a big way. So that little drop didn't work for Crazed down there in the bottom left. That drop at the top right has worked for Luzon. He's now getting some real factory spam on now, queuing up as many T1 factories as he can get his hands on. Already producing strikers out of the ones that are there. In fact, we've got one that's upgrading, so he's got two that are upgrading. So he's got his T2 land HQ in place. There it is. And already getting some T2 factories up from this spam that he's putting down up here. So we're going to see T2 units pouring out of this corner from Luzon. Not looking good for Crazed. He's also got T2 land factory in place. And of course these guys not wanting to leave anything to chance. They're exposing their HQ to full risk by putting it right on the front of their bases, but still getting that advantage, of course, in travel time, getting those T2 units out onto the field as quickly as possible. It does baffle me how and why they do that. I guess I'm a cowardly sort that would probably get one of these to be my T2 HQ, give it as much protection as possible. It really is such a nuisance when you've upgraded a bunch of other factories and then you lose your headquarters. And of course you don't want to be upgrading multiple HQs because that's just a waste. These are people that never build more T1 power plants than they absolutely need to. That is how fine the margins are at this level of gaming. But Crazed looking to make life a little bit difficult here at the front of Luzon's base. Got a whole group of strikers rolling past. In fact, he split up his forces. He's got a large force there, driven past, damaging that one, but also going on a bit of a mass hunting mission And he does really need to do something, because in terms of map control, you look at the places where Luzon is strongest, he has got rather a monopoly on the exterior mass on this map. Crazed literally, in terms of mass points, has locked down the sort of main section of his base, and he has a few T2 mass points further out, having to obviously focus on upgrades more, since he doesn't have any kind of map control to speak of, not compared to Luzon at any rate. A few T1 PDs going down here for Loki, wanting to hold on to this aperture, the central entrance into this base, probably well aware of this body of units up here. If we take a look at the intel, well, he may have gone over it with a few aircraft. He hasn't got an excellent set of intel down here, no radars up or anything like that. And there are T2 units in this mix, so Luzon needs to be wary of that. Manages to catch a few T1 units there from Crazed, sandwiching them off from the bunch. But nice little push happening up here, up top as well. All T1 for the moment. Good mix. Oh, I say all T1. There are one or two T2 units in there. You can see a skyboxer at the back, affording some protection, and also a pillar in the mix as well. But in terms of composition, Crazed units seem to be a little bit stronger. We've even got a parashield in this mix as well. That should mean that Crazed will hold that off without any real problems. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that anyway. Nice little airdrop potentially happening up here as well. Oh, that transport, 50 HP. Looks to be a 3 or 4 Lobos in that, 3 or 4 light artillery there for Luzon. If you can get that into the main base for Crazed somehow, should be able to at least grab this T2 mass point, this T2 mechs on the corner there, and potentially cause some problems. However, Crazed ACU is in a nice position there to defend this portion of the base. If he's on the ball, I imagine he will be. He shouldn't suffer too badly. Crazed trying to push out from his main base. Lots of units coming down this left-hand side of the map. Composition T1 and T2. Now pushing towards the center of this base, but of course having to keep his distance from these plasma cannons. Not going to be able to stay away from those pillars. Meanwhile, those Lobos have landed and look like they will probably grab that T2 mechs. There it goes. Engineer reclaims one of them, doing his bit for the cause. Another engineer coming in as well, absorbs a full arty strike. Doesn't go down though. Interesting. I always thought that one Lobo strike would take down an engineer. I consider myself educated, put it that way. Nice little bit of build capacity there, caught by Crazed. Some of his troops rolling past this little nodule in the map here, rolling in towards the middle. But look at the amount of map control that Luzon's got now. He hasn't got any kind of consistent map control in the middle, but has got 3 of the 4 starting locations, and that's really quite dangerous for Crazed. He said that, what's he doing? He's bottling out on power quite badly. He's just about got enough. It really is on the breadline, floating quite a bit of mass. But you can see how the map control is affecting the income. Luzon way ahead, 187 to 127. And a nice little drop happening up here with a whole bunch of pillars. But we've got some T3 on the field there from Crazed. Handy little Titan turning up at exactly the right time. Where is that HQ? So there is the T3 HQ. So nice transition there to T3, but surely Luzon will have matched that, I imagine so. Of his caliber. And many of you might think that Crazed will struggle on this one. Of course, Luzon has a significant notoriety level in this game. Reigning Inver Cup champion, Rise of the Immortals Trophy grand finalist. But Luzon has entered the Worldwide People's Championship once or twice before and not been successful. He once went out in the qualifiers once, I believe, to Congreve, and got knocked out in the final by Voodoo earlier on, a few weeks back. It might have been week 14, something like that. So he's not had the best luck in this championship so far, and considering Crazed's record, he's been quite a few weeks at the top. He's defended it against Rock. He lost it to Zoc 1 week, but got it back off him the next. So this is not a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination. Very low use of air. I haven't really noticed it from Crazed. I haven't seen anything other than the odd T1 interceptor for Crazed at all. Crazed now having to bring out his commander to deal with these constant drops that are coming in from both sides from Luzon. It's a feature since he has such dominant map control. He has the bottom left, he has the top right. Perfect entry points over these ridges to bring in transports, and of course Crazed's lack of air power makes it all the more easy for Luzon to do just that. A couple of triads, in fact 3 triads in the middle, trying to deal with this Percy, but this is just how strong Percys are. 3 T2 PDs, and you get the feeling that that Percy, were it not being distracted by the odd other units coming in, would be quite able to deal with all 3 of those. Going to continue on its path, but probably not going to survive. There it goes, but another Percy coming in will finish that job. Down it goes, and look at the harassment going on in Crazed's base. So much action, only 16 minutes of gameplay gone. One Percival in the main base getting chased down by a whole bunch of Titans, Pillars, and assorted T1. Large engagement happening in the middle as well. These troops doing a very nice job of holding these units at bay from Luzon that are coming from all directions. It really is a feature of Luzon's gameplay. He attacks from every possible angle. He spreads out. The larger the map, the less likely you are to beat him. He's got such good, attentive play. Really can be everywhere on the battlefield. And still, that Percival's alive. 10 kills on him. Dodging very nicely the Lobo fire. And Titans are down. It is just the Strikers down to 400 hit points. Beautiful rank up there. The perfect point takes him from 400 to 4,000 HP. And just when you thought everything was going to relent, he's still got that Percival in his base. But now Crazed is going to charge in with some Titans. Going to try and deal with him. Thinking better of it. He's got his ACU in the near area. Why risk those Titans when he can come in and overcharge it? Job done. I think that's probably what he's got planned. Knock that back up a notch. Bam! Down he goes. Area secured. But not looking good at all for Crazed on the battlefield at the moment. He's got a ever-increasing clump of troops, clump of forces in the middle. He is winning these engagements, these probing attacks that Luzon's sending in from each and every avenue available to him, but you don't get the impression that he is anywhere near breaking any of these sections of the map and getting back some map control. Let's see a fusion go down in there for Crazed. Definitely working on some eco expansion. We'll see some transition into some airplay from Crazed. It's always the wonder when those fusions go down is what's going to happen. We've got one T2 Air Factory HQ there for Crazed, and another T2 Air Factory HQ. This one's actually 50% done to T3, so preparing to see some kind of airplay. We've already got T3 Air for Luzon. Spy plane on the right hand side of the map, just kind of skirting around. And hello, we've got an ambassador on the field, so Luzon starting to produce some strat bombers. Already has some ASFs out on the right hand side. another drop, but that one doesn't last 2 seconds. Crazed ACU perfectly placed and delivered a beautiful overcharge, knocking out all 6 pillars in one shot. Always nice to see. Titans bearing down there on Luzen's forces. Just got to think, Crazed, you could do with a few more Percys in that mix. They're expensive. And we're starting to see some Continentals, and this is quite interesting. Something I was talking to Crazed about earlier. There's also been a bit of chatter on the forums about how strong the Continentals are. I forget who it was. Someone was placed a replay on the forums saying that initially it was an exploit, or that they're OP. But it's actually the changes to ASFs that have made them so much more viable, because the loss of HP and the extra build time it now takes to build the ASFs means that, of course, the other air units in turn get a bit of a buff, especially with stacking and overlapping shields. Now the question is, what's he going to do? Is he going mass Continental to use them as a kind of gunship? Of course, their DPS is woeful, but don't forget you can shove hundreds of Met Marines on them and turn them into nasty, nasty things indeed. They're still unbelievably vulnerable to large amounts of flak. Personally, I don't think they're particularly overpowered, and you can't nerf their stats and prevent them from being used for their primary purpose, which I think they probably would do. But Ambassador's coming in, bombs away. Not sure what that was going after. That looked like that impacted on the shields of some of those Continentals. So Continentals there getting in the way, saving portions of Crazed's base. On fusion reactor not looking too healthy, down to around 6,700 HP. And this is what I'm talking about here. We've got a T3 Land Factory HQ right on the fringes of the base. And if this goes down, these other T3 Land Factories are not going to be able to produce any more Titans or Percivals, and it looks like it's about to go bam. That is a nasty loss indeed, unless there's another T3 HQ in place. And look at this. They are just queuing up to knock down Crazed's base, and suddenly this beautiful little clump that has worked so well for Crazed in the middle has withdrawn. But Crazed is actually filling up the transports with troops. Where is he taking them? He must be going for some kind of snipe. He's also loading his comm onto the transport. Transports are loading up and they are away. There are some ASFs on the field over on the right-hand side, but not a lot. Question is, can we see where they are headed? Currently, you see the waypoints moving. Look like they're coming right across to the bottom right-hand side, going straight after Luzen's base. Shields blinking on and off. That is not what Crazed needs at all. He's obviously having power troubles back at base. He needs those shields up to protect those transports, especially with his commander on board. I'll have to take a look at what's actually on his commander. Whether he's got T3 engineering suite on there or not. Doesn't seem to have any shields on it. And Luzen's commander is currently on an upgrade. That's really unfortunate timing for him. In they come. Drop away. I'm going to slow this down to -2 to really get an impression of what's happening here. There's not a great deal of power. We've got a lot of T2 pillars. We've got a few Percivals there. Suddenly these Continentals are starting to drop, but the forces have made landfall. There are some Ravagers back here, which Crazed needs to be really careful of with his ACU. He doesn't want to get caught up in that. He's only got around 13,000 HP, and Luzen's commander's on the way, but he finished that upgrade, and it was the shield upgrade. That couldn't have been better timed for him. If he can overcharge well, he might be able to survive this. Crazed marching down towards Luzen. All of the transports lift off to give that extra little bit of damage. You can see the HP falling off that shield, especially with those large alpha strikes from the Percivals at the rear. Half the shield gone already. Crazed taking quite a bit of damage as well. He's down to around 8,000 HP, but the shield is completely gone on Luzen's comm. He's now losing armor HP. 8,000 hit points currently for Crazed still. Luzen down to around 8,000 as well. They're both even, but oh my god, all the HP in the world just fell off Crazed's commander. Hardly any hit points left. That's going to be a double explosion And a tied game in game 1. WTF, mates. That is unreal. And Crazed pulls out a very nice tie from what was essentially a lost game. Look at that. I bring up the score sheet there, but absolutely no need to change the scores because he was well and truly beaten, but out of nowhere pulls off a beautiful com drop. Very unfortunate to him. I wish I caught what had grabbed him. Someone who can review that in the comments section. I'm guessing that much HP, that many hit points in one go was probably, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was probably an Ambassador, a Strat Bomber, which I missed. He went from about 8,000 to about 500 in the space of no time at all. But look at what was left in Crazed's base. Absolutely nothing. Beautiful, beautiful play. So well done. Nil score draw at the end of that one. And, we'll just come out here to the splash screen as I load up game 2. My goodness me, what an opening game. I can see why TA wanted me to cast this one. Incidentally, guys, if you use Facebook and you don't already like our page, please check it out. It's really handy. Just go to or type in Forged Alliance Forever into Facebook and you should find our page nice and easily. There's no real trouble with that at all. And if you want to, entirely up to you. You'll also feel free to like my page as well. It's always a great place to get all of your media. And that's Gylecast. Just type that in to Facebook. That should show up. But anyway, game 2, nil score, a draw so far between these two, and it's going to be on Loki. Personally, can't stand this map, but take a look at the starting locations. Down here at the bottom left, we've got Crazed, and he's abandoned the UEF, which is interesting. He's gone to Cybran. Smaller map, I guess, wants to utilize the lower order advantages that Cybran have. And he's in the yellow corner, as I say, and he's opening first land, and then is that second air or second land? I think second air, third land. That's what it looks like. Anyway, up here at the top right, once again in his customary teal, we've got Loza, and he's sticking with UEF for game 2, and he's opening a land factory to begin with, and then going second air. If you bear with me 2 seconds, I'm just going to grab a quick drink. Problem with doing live or semi-live casting on the fly is to end up with a mouth not too dissimilar from sandpaper. It's a nice little bit of imagery for you. But the first few units are out. Crazed is actually sending 2 engineers up here to grab the 6 mass points on this side. We've already got a mech marine in play here from Luzun, but he's not going to get anything done. Mantis off the production line, very sharpish from Crazed. He's going to swap that away without any real trouble. So a little bit of a contrast here, or contrast between these two guys. Luzun's sending just 1 Engie up the right hand side as opposed to the 2. So the expansion northwards is going to be much quicker, we imagine, from Crazed. And this Mole and Mantis going to be searching for engineers. There are a couple heading to this side of the ridge. Very common tactic for the 2 starting locations is to try and grab these 2 that are essentially sort of on your opponent's side of the map. But there is 1 striker here and 1 snoop, so Luzon should be able to sense this coming and protect against it. So it's going to be a question with whether or not Crazed decides to carry on pushing. Stand there for a minute. I think he's just going to wait to see if any engineers befoul his path. Scout planes out for Luzon, interceptors out for both of them. So early air units in the sky at 3.5 minutes, both committing to the airplay. And it was strange actually to see Crazed stay out of the air game as much as he did. I think something that possibly held him back a little bit, and Luzon, as a result, once he'd managed to grab the 2 corner slots there, clearly didn't need to invest that much in air either. coming in for a bit of harassment there with the strap bombers, but I'd love to know if someone could watch that back as well, those ambassadors that came into Crazed's base. It did look like they impacted on the shields. But yeah, it takes a keener eye with the opportunity of replayability to spot those. But anyway, a few strikers coming in now, chasing down a single Mantis. A couple of strikers and a Snoop, so they can see it on radar. Mantis going hell for leather for this little ridge here, potentially be able to grab an engineer or so, but now unlikely. There is a bomber in the skies, I imagine. Luzon's probably going to pick that up, and a little bit of an air engagement down here at the bottom of the map. Crazed has numbers, however. He looks like he's probably going to get the better of all of Luzon's, or both of Luzon's inties, for no real gain there. However, Luzon's making a push with his ACU out to the left-hand side of the map. There are a couple of Mantis and a Mole in the area. He should be able to swat away at least one of them as it runs across his path. The other two may go right past him without him realizing it. There are a couple of engineers that have made their way across this little mini pond here. They've got a land factory in place, not currently producing anything for the moment. But larger groups of Mantis now pouring out of Crazed's main base. Let's take a look at what he's got. 1, 2, 3, 4 land factories in place for Crazed and 1 air factory, as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 land factories and 1 air factory for Luzon. So an extra air factory, sorry, an extra land factory there in that main body, but of course there's 1 extra land factory over here on the left hand side. There is also another one further forward. So Luzon is up on the land production by 1 single factory, not a great deal. And Crazed pushing out to the right hand side with his ACU as well. So both players copying each other for play, more or less. A few strikers trying to get in around the back from Luzon. Cheeky little maneuver, not going to be successful thanks to this Mole positioned here. Crazed was able to spot that and take that down. This bomber not currently on any kills at the moment for Luzon. Looks like Crazed knows he's around, searching for it. Those 3 interceptors are going to be able to finish that off in 1 pass. That out of the sky, prevent that from doing any real damage. Now some more units, some strikers heading south from that main area from Luzon. However, quite a few Mantis in play down here. It's certainly the advantage of numbers for Crazed, and Crazed also got his ACU down here. And this factory still under production. In fact, it's been paused. This engineer not going to finish that in time. Crazed going to get down here, pick up all of these mass points, and then going to grab a PD. Really going to try and secure that far right corner. He's already grabbed the top left. There is at least 1 auto gun in place. Another one is going to be finished soon, and another one queued up. So that ACU here from Luzon not going to be able to push in and grab this top left. So nicely done initially from Crazed, looking like he's grabbing the better half of the map control in this game. Luzon probably says, I suck here. Clearly knows that in the early game of this, 8 minutes gone, he's been outplayed in terms of map control. And that's an advantage that's tough to get back from. We've got a lot of mech marines pouring back up here. So could we see some kind of ghetto gunship? T2 transports, no, sorry, T2 Starlifters under construction. So it looks like Luzon, knowing that he's got an uphill battle, wants to try and end this now. Question is, does he know where Crazed's ACU is? Might guess that that's it over here on the far right. He's got quite a few interceptors in the air and quite a few more than Crazed. I think he's got a fair few. Let's actually take a look at this, because this is going to be crucial. There's combat going on the rest of the field, but it's not as important as this. 17 effectively useful inties there for Crazed and 16 for Luzon. So decent amount, and he's hiding the transports back here. He's got 1 online. He's going to need probably 2 or 3 to snag a comm kill before these interceptors from Crazed can react and get over there and shoot them down. Question is, has Crazed built any anti-air? Not at the moment. He's got 1 land factory in place. That's currently upgrading, though. If he could get that up to T2 and get some bangers out, then this will be thwarted, and this will set Luzon back quite badly, because he will have ploughed a decent amount of mass into this. HQ there from Crazed up front. Magma's being produced, taking an awful lot of fire here. Turbo fire finally gets maneuvered out the way at the last moment. So we've got 3 Star Lifters fully laden with Mech Marines. I forget the figures offhand at how much damage 2 T2 UEF transports for the Mech Marines put out, but it's not small. And this is going to be crucial. Now, Luzon's countering at the same time with his interceptors, wants to force an engagement over here, deplete as many of these interceptors from Crazed as possible, and give him as much time focusing on this comm as he can. Now, what's under production here? Is that actually a banger under production? That could be problems for Crazed. And in they come, straight on the commander. Crazed down to around 6,000 HP, starts assisting that factory. Those must be bangers, but he's not going to get it done in time. This is a beautiful snipe into the red. HP falling off him, and bam! Very nice pickup from Luzon. That is why he's so good. He knew that it was an uphill battle. He knew he was going to have problems there, so he reacted and dealt with it. Game 1 goes to Luzon. Very nice indeed. And that is why he is so good at this game. Just unbelievable that, you know, that level of play. To an average Joe such as myself, that kind of level of thought is it's just unreal to me. But yeah, quite a few people have asked me as well about Planetary Annihilation, when that's coming out and stuff. I don't have any information on that, obviously, but they're saying in all of the streams that it's going to be an alpha released at potentially the end of this month. So the initial high bidders from the Kickstarter project will, or the Kickstarter campaign, will get priority releases into the alpha. But if you want to pre-release or pre-order, you can still get into the alpha, I believe, and there is a link under the video in the description to that pre-order page, and that will allow you to get on board. So I mean, if it's good, I do plan to do some casts with it. We will hope it's going to be good, but we won't know until we get our hands on it. Anyway, game 3, and it's 1-0 to Luzon, so Crazed needs to get a wriggle on. And the map is Blasted Rock, and this should be a reasonably even fight. They have got the larger map size, which of course we were saying earlier tends to benefit Luzon because of his mad eco skills. Anyway, down here on the bottom left in his teal, we've got Luzon opening first land, second air. Already getting a Mech Marine out to the top of the map, going straight to the back, in fact, of Crazed base. And Crazed in his customary yellow is over here on the right hand side. He's opening first land, second land as well, so not getting involved with the air game just yet. Very cheeky tactics being employed in this match. I love to see it, always fun. And another Mech Marine, so a little bit of meta play going on here, both playing blow for blow, and also I forgot to mention, of course, both now going UEF once again. So Snoop going down, but Mech Marine from Crazed managing to finish off the Mech Marine there from Luzon, and a striker coming in from Luzon there, finishing off that Mech Marine, protecting that engineer, going straight for that rock. So obviously a little bit of well-rehearsed meta play there. That's obviously quite a usual avenue of attack. Get a Mech Marine or a lab in there, go after the engineer that's going to be hoovering up that rock and going for that rear mass point. And now we've got another 2 Mech Marines out for Crazed. Moving on over to Luzon's side of the map. A couple of T1 NGs over here. Going to be getting in there to grab the Hydro and the mechs, one for each. Nice anticipation there from Luzon. Has a striker and a Snoop in place, defending against those labs. And this is where you really see the difference between the pros and the Joes. They've just played this so many times. They play each other so many times. They read these plays, the common tactics that they're used to other players using. So Luzon knowing when to push up there. And of course there's no intel at this stage in the game. The only intel you're going to be getting are from these snoops. It's the only way you're going to be knowing what's happening is from the relatively small radius you're getting there. As that striker pushes forward, grabs a mech marine kill. He's going to be taken down by two other strikers closing in on his position. That's going to keep that engineer safe from Crazed. He's going to be heading in there to grab that Hydro and then that Mechs. And I think the build here, build order is a little bit stronger perhaps for Luzon on this. He's going to have the Hydro and that Mechs in place before Crazed is. Managed to get a striker down here as well. Going to kill off that engineer and stop that Hydro going down. Luzon's not going to grab this other Hydro down here as yet, but there are a couple of strikers making their way in from Crazed. Going to bag at least one NG kill. This one not going to manage to get that Hydro finished either. Probably going to grab that Mechs as well. Commander there from Luzon was going up to protect, but it hasn't managed it. And look at this early Ghetto gunship. Luzon loving the Ghetto gunships at the moment. Coming out, causing as much damage as he can. There are a few archers in place though, so not sure how much good this is going to do. One engineer goes down at least, so he has paid for it in a little bit, in a little way. One defending interceptor out as well for Luzon. Making sure that transport stays in the air. 15 mass for Crazed, 17 mass for Luzon. It is about to be evened out potentially as this Mechs is going to go down. Eventually, there it goes. So 15 mass a pop. Luzon's coming in now with that Ghetto. Going to finish off those strikers. One down, two down. I can get another engineer back in there to finish that up. But look at Crazed. Look how far forward he is. He's going to grab that Mechs with his ACU. Incredibly cheeky play. Love to see that. Love to see him throw down a PD in here as well. But uh-oh. Another courier. Or is that the same? That's the same one. 252 HP on it. Going to come in, finish off that Mechs potentially. Not going to waste time going after the commander. A few archers kicking about in here as well. So it's kind of paid for itself a little bit, this Ghetto, but it hasn't been crippling. It hasn't been instrumental. And the amount of time it takes in terms of CPM, clicks per minute, and mental energy on top of regular play to fill the transport and micro it around. Of course, you can't direct fire with the Ghetto. It does take it out of you, so you've really got to make them pay for themselves. I'm not sure Luzon's got full benefit out of that. Not as much benefit as he could do. And look at this, you can kind of see the difference. The amount of spam on the field. The top is completely open. Crazed more or less has free reign. He could go plowing into Luzon's base. Crazed is slightly lower in HP, or quite a bit lower in HP. We've got 11,200 on Luzon, 7,700 on Crazed. Yes, Crazed has a lot more troops in the area. Could be about to change. Ghetto gunship coming in, but he needs to be careful. There's a lot of archers on the field. He's down to 76 HP. Doesn't want to lose the transport and all the mech marines. He's going to drop them off on the ground. That's a wise decision. Sending that in, it was only going to get it killed, all of them. Crazed down to 5,800 HP. Wants to back off slightly. Doesn't want to lose too many HP to Luzon, who's looking rather healthy. 9,800 HP on his commander still. And now the troops in the local area are thinning out. But look at this. Nice push up top from Crazed. Meanwhile, this mass point looking like it's going to go down again. Hydro still not taken, or not able to be taken by Luzon. So things looking a little bit better in this game for the moment for Crazed. I'd like to see him dart downwards into this main base and start assassinating power. Really is wide open for the taking, of course. Benefit of full map visual to the caster. All very well and good. He's saying that. Crazed just doesn't have the intel. Look, no intel coverage at all. Hasn't even seen what's going on in Luzon's base. Now Luzon has enough units on the field, I think, to repel this attack. It does look like on the face of it that there are many more units there for Crazed. Don't forget there's quite a few archers in this mix as well, and a bunch of these tanks are damaged, and it doesn't take too much to reissue new commands to these other forces into the mix, and that will be the end of this little push, I would imagine. Could potentially snag this mass pump. he's going to, unless he moves forward out the range of those Lobos. Crazed pushing once again over on the right-hand side. Still not looking too healthy, on around 6,000 hit points compared to the 10,000 of Luzon. 6 kills on Luzon, but 14 kills on Crazed, so Crazed considerably closer to his first rank of veterancy. And in terms of map control, looking slightly healthier in favor of Crazed for the moment. How many land factories got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 land factories there for Crazed. Only 1 air factory queued up, nothing in play at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th about to be built for Luzon, and 1 air factory. So equal numbers of factories, different types of factories. Once again illustrating how close these two are, the margins of error are in this game. And I like what Luzon's doing here. Here's a little technique for some of you Joes out there. You're like, what is he doing? Well, think about what that looks like on the radar to Crazed. I don't know if he's got intel coverage. He hasn't. He's got a little bit. But if he gets 9 blips showing up on the radar there, that's going to look very much like a defensive fortification. And that will be a mechanism just to buy Luzon some time to get some forces into this area. He doesn't want Crazed pushing forward and denying any map control. Very nice there. Like that little bit of deception from Luzon. Proving once again why he is so pro. Meanwhile at the top, nice little run by happening here from Luzon. Groups of strikers ploughing now into this build capacity, taking 2 more out, and there's now 4 mexes up here at the starting location under threat. Crazed does have forces in the area, should be able to deal with them. For some reason he's stopping short of doing it right this moment. Now Crazed is pushing forward regardless of this little deception tactic. Hasn't got any snoops in the mix up front. I don't think he's got any at all. One coming in now, but he will have had view of that, so that little bit of deception now will have failed. Still lovely to have a go at it. Costs Luzon virtually nothing to do so. Once again, Crazed looking like he's just got a better half of the map. Knocking that back up to normal speed. Apologies, didn't realise that's on -1. It's nice though just not to miss things. Luzon now closing down on Crazed. He's making a bit of a run for it. 6,000, or what is that, 8,300 HP. Still unable to get healthy, unable to get into the green. And I'd like to see these groups of units get a little bit of a run by in. But Luzon's not going to overextend. He's not going to push forward and allow the gap for Crazed. Very astute, obviously probably aware of these units down here. That's why he's flocking south. And it's nice because Crazed has the units to spare. He feels that if Luzon overcommits in one side, he might be able to push and make ground with the other. Luzon now on an upgrade. Looks like the right arm, so I'm guessing that's probably going to be a gun upgrade. Take a look at that in just a second. But Crazed forces now looking a little bit peaky. Luzon going to gain back some map control up top. He's moving forward with his commander once again, not overcharging that much. Does he actually have access to overcharge? No, he doesn't. Still sitting on 4,000 max power, so he doesn't have the energy to overcharge, and it's a shame because he would definitely be gaining the advantage here if he did. How about Luzon? What have we got here? Luzon does have overcharge available, and that could be really telling in this. What was that upgrade we saw on the commander? It wasn't the T2. Right arm. It wasn't the... Interesting, he abandoned it, so I did miss that. Obviously that little move forward from Crazed forced him to abandon that upgrade. It seemed to be at least 30% done at my last look, so that is wasted resources going down into that commander. Nicely done there from Crazed to force that cancel. Backing off. I'm surprised he's not pushing Crazed a little bit harder down here. He's got numbers. He has managed to get a legitimate PD in place. So I guess he wants Crazed to overextend into it maybe and thin out some more of those troops and then get his attack going, but he is building up forces quite nicely now. Major tech changes. Coming up to the 12-minute mark in this game. And now those forces are coming forward. And Crazed needs to be a little bit careful here. Doesn't want to overextend. He's losing a lot of these troops, probably unaware, but nice ghetto gunship coming in as well from Crazed. Beautiful little mix-up there. There is a static railgun here, some defensive anti-air T1. But he finally gets Luzon into the yellow, if only for a short amount of time. As he properly regens back into the green. Crazed on 49 kills on his ACU. Could do with that, taking out that T1 PD with that ghetto gunship. This really is a nervy match. Neither guy forcing the issue here. Backing off backwards and forwards. You see that T2 Air HQ there, from where that star lifter came from. Crazed a little bit far forward, and all of those mech marines have disappeared, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say they got caught by this skyboxer or some other skyboxer in the area. That skyboxer's got 11 kills. So a couple of rounds of flak off him just brutalized all of the mech marines pretty much in that star lifter. So for any of you thinking that ghetto gunships look OP, it's one of the beautiful features about Supreme Commander is the animated fire, stuff that can be dodged. Stuff that has collateral damage, things that you're firing at aren't always the only casualties. Other stuff in the area will get hit as well. Actual simulated warfare. A few units up top for Crazed being forced back. I'm going to grab this mechs up here up top and taking a look at the ecos for the moment. It's not accurate, that 73. There's a lot of reclaim going, so it's 22 plays 19 more or less there for Luzon against Crazed. Suddenly just popped up to 25. Either way, Luzon is ahead, so it's early a little bit of map control. Crazed hasn't been able to do anything with, and these mongoose on the field now for Luzon moved into the T2 phase in the land game, and once again Luzon's trying to get an upgrade going. It is that right arm again, so probably going to be a gun upgrade. There it goes. There it is, the amplifier. That's going to turn the tables potentially on this corner of the field. Crazed needs to be careful. Still not looking healthy. 61 kills, but only 6,000 HP. He's been doing an awful lot of work with that commander. And look at this. Crazed potentially realizing he's in trouble. He's starting to build TAC missile launchers right here at the back. Probably going to go for a snipe. Going to have to time this well. Get Luzon when he's standing still. He's not going to be standing still much. Not how he's got the gun upgrade. He's going to be using that commander to full effect. He's leading the charge with it. Troops in tow. Crazed very low on troops. He's put so much mass and energy into these TAC missile launches. He's got one in the clip already on this one. Another one about to be ready. So he now has enough TAC missile power to kill that commander, and that must be what Luzon was talking about. I have 1,300 hit points. He probably has spotted those TAC missile launchers. He's got a scout plane right here. Crazed calls the GG. He knows he needs a third TAC missile. Says well played, and he knows Luzon, having spotted that TAC missile launcher, won't be standing still for anyone. And look at the breakthrough into the main base. Everything was on pause. It was a last-ditch effort, all in, trying to get the snipe there, but it wasn't to be. Luzon just too damn powerful. T1 pouring into the main base. And now units coming up, wasting all that build capacity. Attack missiles will go away, but they're not going to hit anything. Crazed marching forward with his ACU on virtually nothing. And BAM! Beautiful pickup there from Luzon. He goes 2-0 ahead. And Crazed is going to have to start pulling something out of the bag. Pretty sharpish. Did very well in that first game to pull off that draw. He was rather unfortunate he didn't get the win there, but could potentially have turned this around. Would have made it pretty interesting. Load up game number 4. Let's see how this is going to get on. Incidentally, guys, there is a alpha up, I think, for general inspection for Galactic War. Check that out on the forums. I know there was a post. I'm not sure if it's just for contributors or not. I think it might be. But either way, if you have contributed, definitely check it out. It's all going to be very early stages of testing, okay? So expect lots of bugs, guys. But if you do get a bug, please tell Zep about it. Also have a look on the forums to make sure you're not reporting something else that's been reported. But if it hasn't, do go for it. Anyway, game 4, Fields of Isis. Love this map. Always fun. We'll take a look at their starting locations up here at the top left. We've got Luzon going UEF once again. And going first land, getting that adjacency bonus there from the power, and getting a couple of mechs. He's also going to get a mechs adjacency there for that. All the more important in NG mod. And then down here at the bottom right, going UEF once again is Crazed. So only one switch up in race so far in this match, and that has been Crazed in game 2 going Cybrin on Loki. He was actually winning that game, let's not forget. So it's not all about the UEF. He was winning as Cybrin, but got sniped. That is why he got sniped. Luzon knew he was in a poor position. So he's going first land anyway. Second air, going to get that adjacency bonus on the Hydro. And very early Mech Marine out from Luzon. Expecting the expanding NG going straight up into the other starting location up here. And indeed there is one on the way. And no defending support for the moment. We have got a Mech Marine rolling off the pad and heading out into the middle. A few templates going down there for T1 power. Of course, mass not at a premium on this in ISIS when you're playing 1v1. A lot of mass to go around once you've capped the other base. So T1 power in large amounts is a must. Beautiful little bit of micro there. Saves the Mech Marine from the reclaim, and bam! Mech Marine picks up the kill. First blood going straight in after another one. Defending Mech Marine coming in to deal with it. But he's going to stay on target. Oh, just manages to grab that second engineer as well. Beautiful little bit of hampering there from Luzon. Slowing up Crazed's expansion. T1 engineer coming in from Luzon. Of course, there's so much reclaim in the center of the field. Even though you've got access to what would be your teammates' mass up here, still useful to get the Rex in the middle. You've got a couple of Harbingers and a Titan there in the middle. It's a lot of mass that's good to go. Luzon being very aggressive on the reclaim, has moved his comm out to the middle, and this is much more the sort of play you'd expect to see in a regular ISIS in a 2v2 match. You've got to get out there, grab that mass, and it's generally wise to send your comm to do it because your opponent will. And if you send your NG, it's going to get whacked. And now a bomber out from Crazed. Was probably going to go after that, but a Mech Marine has finished the job for him. Intercept coming in from Luzon, circling around, is now going to get in behind that bomber. The question is, will that bomber get to a place where it can pick up an NG kill? No, it won't. Gets popped just over the top of this little mountainous region here dividing the base from the center field. Meanwhile, Bomber coming in from Luzerne was going for that engineer here, expanding into the center of the other starting location. Is not going to make it. Interceptor from Crazed picking it off. But it looks like, on the face of it, much of the reclaim could go to Luzerne. Titan has been reclaimed, although there's two Harbingers in the mix, which Crazed is going to manage to snag now that he's got his ACU to the middle. So Luzerne not going to pull too far ahead. He's going to grab all the mass up here that he can. Obviously, desperately short of power. Had to grab one T2 P-Gen there. See, he's right on the bread line there. Had to put that one T2 P-Gen down. Shouldn't think he'll want to put any more down there up at the front, but utilizing the commander's build power, very important sometimes, even if you're in unfortunate situations, and it is just a T1 P-Gen, so as long as you can get it up elsewhere, it's not a problem to lose it, put it in dangerous places. Slight advantage in the air at this early stage for Luzerne. Courier coming out from Luzerne as well. Question is, what's he going for? Could we see an early drop? He's coming straight in to pick up these strikers, and then a change of heart, not for the moment at any rate. Perhaps he wants to do it in a more secluded location, doesn't want to give away a potential drop. And potentially a very vulnerable looking expansion up here for Crazed. A couple of Inceptors flying around defending the skies over Crazed's area of the map. If he spies this drop, he might be able to shoot it down before it gets into the base sections. You can see they're going to be dropped right up here at the corner, going to skirt along the top of the map. And it looks to me like he's going to be okay to get that in. Those Interceptors not going to pick up on it. And it is the time to do these things as well when your opponent hasn't got the intel to see them coming. What have we got in this mix? 5 strikers and a Lobo. So he's got that little bit of artillery there for extra damage on structures. I like that very much indeed. It's coming in now, and these structures, these mass pumps, looking in a good way at all. Kadoodle picking up this engineer if he can. Stop the destruction of that land factory. He's not going to manage that in time. It's going to go just plainly for the mass pumps. That's going to put Luzerne in the lead. 53 or 59 to 52 mass. He's going to manage to pick up that engineer kill. Going to run out of units before we can grab any more mexes, I think. Let's take a look at how these guys are done on reclaim. Luzerne sitting on 5,600 reclaim. Crazed on 4,000. So nice advantage there in terms of reclaim. You see the difference that Titan wreck has made. And Luzerne, just such an eco whore. Of course, ISIS will, it's not one of the largest maps, but will fall slightly into the category of giving an advantage. It's not a 5x5. Bombs away over the top, takes out that radar. Nice little maneuver there, and beautiful micro. You can see the double bomb drop there from Luzerne. Very nicely done indeed. Picks up the kill on the radar and damages that mass pump in the same pass. Another drop coming in, this time around the bottom of the map, and another one that's been very ideally placed at the top as well. So Luzerne working very hard indeed to harass his opponent. He wants to finish this match right here, right now. There is a plasma cannon in place, T1 PD for the UEF there from Crazed. And that's going to start wailing away on those units if they stray into visual range. Luzerne wisely moves them out of range. Crazed trying to get another one in place, this time at the rear of his base. Going to start dispatching a few units down there to deal with it. Wants to protect those core T2 mass points and also these little power templates that he's got down. How's he actually doing on power? He's doing okay, not a huge amount to spare, but he's got enough for the moment. But look at the terms of map control. Crazed really is forced into his base section of the map. He hasn't got anything in the middle at all. And we're starting to see T2 units now on the field for Luzerne as well. Mongoose rolling on their way over towards Crazed's side of the map. We'll take a look in just a second if that's a tech disadvantage that Crazed is facing. If he's down, we've got a land factory upgrading. It is not. He's got T2 factory. We'll try and locate the HQ. There it is. So this time not far forward. Crazed learning a lesson, I think, from the first game on the Roza Sanctuary. I really think it's the safer bet. Such a key structure to defend that headquarters. I'd like to see pros defending it more and more. Another drop up here at the top. Absolutely outrageous. Crazed has units around to defend, but each time he's having to keep these units in the base. He's losing maybe a mass point here and there, which is keeping Luzon ahead. And is that accurate? That can't be accurate. 80 mass there for Luzon, 73 for Crazed, so he's not falling too far behind in eco, at least not at the moment. And now we're seeing some pillars on the field. That will be enough for Crazed to punch his way out of this little blockade that's been sitting at the front of his base. We've also got skyboxes in the mix there, so air for the moment pretty redundant for Luzon, at least over this mix. It's a pretty hefty, tanky group of units there from Crazed in the middle. He's going to split up. He needs to force his way back on equal footing to both of the apertures in the middle of this map. Large quantity of build capacity there from Luzon. That'd be lovely if Crazed could pick that up. I doubt he's going to be able to, though. He needs to get past this group of units here. There is a T1 PGen there, but that might seem on radar scans to be potentially some kind of PD. Who knows? He probably has seen it, to be fair. We'll take a look if he has. Yes, he has, so well aware that that is just a power plant and not something he needs to be afraid of. Luzon having to pull further back. TAC missile launcher in play at the central reservation. I love it. Very aggressive. Could potentially start going for some snipes. Not seeing any buzz kills up in the middle there for Crazed. So Crazed not able to defend. Could potentially go for a snipe if he can get another one in place. Going to need at least 2 TAC missile launchers to go for the 12,000 HP commander. But could certainly start going for some mass points. Nothing on this side at all. How's his main base looking? It's got T2 power gens. They'd be pretty key to take hold of. T2 mass points will fall, of course, to 1 TAC missile. But T3 will tank 1 and take 2 missiles to be destroyed. Now we've got stingers in the air for Luzon as well. But skyboxes will dissuade him from any more of that kind of play. Pillars, definitely the right unit of choice, and now we're going to see some countering here from Luzon, who's also made the transition to T3, so we've got Titans on the field as well. And I don't know if Crazed spotted that or he's just looking at the sheer amount of blips on the scope, but he is backing up. Stinger trying to combat the group of units moving across the top aperture from Crazed. Unsuccessful in doing so thanks to that skyboxer, and Crazed scores a kill on a forward T1 land factory. A few units coming in to intercept as well. Mass point down, and now Percy's on the field as well, and this is looking rather brutal. How far behind T3 is Crazed? He's not currently started upgrading that T2 headquarters to T3, so he's a little ways off. He's had a little bit of success through that top aperture, but that's going to be the end of it. There's Stingers on the field, there's Percivals and Titans on the field, and Starlifters moving T3 units about the map. That's something Crazed needs to be concerned about. If those get into the back of the base, it could be all kinds of problems once again. More drops that Crazed needs to be worried about, and it looks like that's where he's going. See where he's headed. Yes, he is indeed going to drop it in here. There are some skyboxes in there. The question is, will that transport make landfall? Yes, it will. Percy on the ground. Priorities will be the T2 land units, I should think. He snipes a mass from range there. Needs to go after these pillars, popping them one at a time. Nice little bit of micro backwards and forwards there. 4 kills on that Percy already. Takes out a mass point. Another one upgrading there. Wasted mass down for Crazed. Very nice indeed. Hampering tactics all over the shop. 101, 102 mass currently income for Luzon. Crazed currently ahead. If that isn't reclaim, we'll have to take a look at how that actually looks. That is legitimate reclaim. Legitimate mass income there, not reclaim. So Crazed actually ahead on eco. He's been turtling up ecoing in his main base quite hard. So Luzon actually losing out there, but in terms of map control, he's going to be doing a lot better the minute he starts ploughing some income into upgrading. Of course, a lot of his income has been going into the T3 upgrades and these Percivals that are now rolling out in disturbing quantities. He has one T3 HQ right at the front there, a couple of T2 land factories further back. I don't care what anyone says, NG Mod makes for more entertaining games. More tech, on the ground, quicker. What could be better? I love it. Absolutely love it. 3 Percys being dropped off in the middle, very far forward indeed. And look at the amount of power and tech that Luzon suddenly has on this half of the map. Incredibly quickly has done so as well. And don't forget, of course, this is a must-win for Crazed. He is 2-0 down. He needs to win every game from here out in if he wants to remain champion. It's going to be a tall order against anyone of his standard, let alone Luzon. Still argued by many to be the #1 player in this game, so would certainly be my pick as #1 in 1v1s, controversial as that may be. I think his record speaks for himself, or itself I should say. Another drop there, this time Demolishers right on the front line. This is going to be nice. He's going to be able to affect some damage on Crazed's base over the reservation here as they deploy. Bam, bam. Where's he going for? Powered plants, very vulnerable, no shielding whatsoever. Sailing overhead. He's going to grab at least one of them. I should think all 3 of them could be vulnerable. Crazed sense the urgency, sense the issue is heading south with everything he's got. Trouble is he's going right past Luzon's body of troops here, full of Titans, Percivals, and Pillars of his own. Lots of Riptides in the mix here from Crazed. Wants to get as much damage on the field as possible, utilizing those T2 factories that he's got. Has managed to take out both those Demolishers, but they've definitely paid for themselves. 3 T2 factories for a couple of Demolishers. 3 T2 power plants, sorry, for a couple of Demolishers. Definitely worth it. Percival's airdrop to the front, though. What are you going to do? Janus coming in over the top as well for Luzon. It's quite a grisly-looking group of troops, though, from Crazed. The Percys going down have forced Luzon backwards, made him think twice about any more of that kind of behavior. 2 more Demolishers rolling off the production lines. Where are they headed is the question. Look like they're heading back over to this side of the map. Janus still happy going to town on these exposed troops. There are a couple of skyboxes in the mix, or at least one. More transports coming in all the time, ferrying troops to the front lines. Expect to see more. Sorry, no, it's not. It's a reclaim mission. Lots of engineers at the front, and you can see why. Amount of wrecks on the field here available for reclaim. Need to be careful though. Lots of troops roaming from Crazed, and they are easy pickings. Crazed still ahead on eco, which is quite extraordinary. The question is, can he fuddle that eco into killing power to take this game? Even if you're ahead on eco, if you're down on map control, it can be so daunting. Remember, we're looking at the map like this. That's all well and good, but this is how Crazed sees the battlefield, and he doesn't see the battlefield. He has no intel whatsoever, and when all you're seeing is that, and you're up against Luzon, that is a scary situation to say the least. So even if you're momentarily ahead on eco, Luzon suddenly jumps to 170 odd in terms of mass income to the static 162 for Crazed. So Luzon now pulls ahead in all facets of this game. Crazed pushing out here and there at one time or another, trying to glean back some kind of control in this game. Gonna walk into some Demolisher fire here. Just manages to dodge that, loses one T1 unit there, and the pillar takes a semblance of RT damage there. Scout plane going overhead for Luzon as he takes a little bit of a snoop over Crazed's base. Luzon busy ecoing away. He really is the eco whore, the eco master. It's quite happy to see that game on Twin Rivers a while ago between Luzon and Zok countered Luxie's eco sensibilities with just hardcore turtle. It actually worked very well. Percival's wailing away now. Lovely little drop there into the main base. Grab a T2 mass point. Force Crazed yet further behind in terms of eco. I think they're going to be chased down before any more damage is done. They do with grabbing those NGs, but he's not going to manage it. Once again, more demolishers heading towards Crazed's base as they deploy. What are they going after? Once again, going after the power grid again. This time it's shielded. Crazed has prepared from last attack. See, understanding that Luzon has a beat on where to hurt him, so he needs to get a little bit of protection in place. T3 Air Factory and Continentals in production, so we're going to see some more airdrops. This game passes the 25-minute mark. Of course, it could just be used to ferry more troops there for Luzon. It's a very broad face that Crazed is presenting towards Luzon, who's been caught napping a bit here. His attention's been elsewhere. Crazed is going to do rather well out of this. Still a lot of Percys in the mix, and more coming to join the battle here from Luzon. And I don't think Crazed is going to have enough to do any more here. They go one by one. But the hordes of lower order troops doing just enough to clear the field. Very, very even game, despite the fact that Luzon has been so in control for so long. And is that legitimate mass again? No, it's not. It's currently on reclaim. That is, though, 194. So significant difference between these two players now in eco. Luzon pulling further ahead as time goes by, yet more engineers coming in as well to nab more of this reclaim. And I like this. Ravager going down at the back here, and that will prevent Crazed from continuously pushing forward with impunity. Every time he comes out, breaks out of his base to come and deal with the troops, he's going to have a fight on his hands with that Ravager. But now a lovely little drop here at the rear of Crazed's base. Is that going to force him to withdraw his troops? I'm not certain it is. Ravager going up as well from Crazed in the middle, but this is the immediate threat, the immediate problem, and this is really going to hurt. He's got T3 mass pumps under threat, takes a volley down to 400 hit points, sorry, mass points. Down they go, and this is really going to cause problems for Crazed. Surely this will be the beginning of the end. Now they're getting into range of the power grid as well. 3 mass points down, at least 2 of them with T3, another one going down and another one about to follow. That is mass. Crazed can't afford to lose. has managed to clear a space, and we have actually got a fatty online over here for Luzun, so he's been busy. These Percivals straying into Ravager fire from this little forward front line. Decide to pull back, working on this little T1 power grid. How does that actually leave Crazed power? His power's absolutely fine, and he's floating quite a lot of mass as well. Unable to do anything with it. Can do with finishing off these T2 power plants though. Going after the mass point first. And still Crazed has no answer. And there's also 2 Percies up at the back, so it's just drops all day from Luzun. We've got ASFs out on the field as well. Lots of Continentals there, and lots of troops as well, so Crazed looking like he's going to attempt another drop since it worked so well for him in the first game. Luzun has spotted it, says he's waiting for him. He knows he can't contend in this game any longer on an equal footing. Luzun has caused far too much damage with that last drop, and this will be the end of the T3 HQ as well, removing the ability for Crazed to build any more T3 units. Janus now currently being pumped out as quickly as possible in an attempt to put some damage on these Percivals. At least now they are in range of Ravager fire, but they're completely expendable. They might as well go around hoovering up the rest of those factories, but the little engagement is away. Fatboy rolling out over to the right-hand side of the map. ASF's on the field for Luzun, and Crazed needs to be very careful. He's got his commander in the transport. He's thought better of it. He's moving the commander out to the right-hand side. Going to go in initially with the troops first. In fact, he's not going to take his commander in at all. He doesn't like the look of that. Flying overhead, thinking about where's the best place to drop. Luzun has the shield on his commander. He's going to be a tough nut to crack. Bad time to have a power failure in the main base. Shields go down. But there's a lot of Percivals in the mix there for Luzun. Riptides focusing there on the commander. Shields blinking on at just the right time. And there's no way Crazed has the power to deal with this. Continentals flying overhead, but Fatboy just plowing down. All he's got left is the Percies, and they're too far away from the commander. There's a wall of Percies from Luzun in between them and the commander they're trying to kill. And down they go. All that's left of these transports, they barely scratch the shield, and he will be able to dispatch those at his leisure. A wall of Janus coming in as well, throwing everything he can at this commander, but it's not going to be enough. Far too much defense on the ground for Luzun. He's embedded into this side of the map. The GG goes up, and I think that is going to be the end of the game. The base is in tatters over on this right-hand side. Well played, Luzun, who's going to snag the game 3-0 as Crazed control K's that commander. Very, very nicely played. I really hope you enjoyed that game, guys. I certainly did. I'm absolutely destroyed. More to come, as always, from me in the future. In the meantime, guys, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle, signing out.